Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs recommends holding monsoon session from July 17th, the day of the presidential election. Session to continue till August 11th. Election Commission rejects petitions of 21 AAP legislators to drop Office of Profit case against them. Commission says Delhi High Court order will not come in the way of deciding their likely disqualification. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Portugal, holds wide-ranging talks with Portuguese Premier Antonio Costa. Both leaders review progress in bilateral ties. India signs 11 with Portugal. And Saudi Arabia foils terrorist action against the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Suicide bomber blows himself up in a building, injuring 11 people, including some police officers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the India-Portugal International Startup Hub in Lisbon on Saturday. Portugal is the Prime Minister's first stop in a three-nation tour. Soon after landing, the Prime Minister met his counterpart Antonio Costa and discussed ways to enhance bilateral ties in multiple areas, including economic engagement, science and technology. Several agreements were signed between the two sides in the areas of science and technology and economy. Both leaders also discussed ways to increase people-to-people contact between the two countries. Keeping in tune with Prime Minister Modi's Favor Digital India campaign, India and Portugal also discussed ways to enhance cooperation in the sector. India and Portugal also identified two important pillars of cooperation, namely science and technology and cooperation between businesses.
Bilateral trade has grown 17% last year, and the foreign direct investment from Portugal to India through modest had doubled during 2016-17. In the regard, Portuguese economic rebound and strong Indian growth offer excellent opportunity for us to grow together. Friends, Portugal has emerged as one of the most vibrant European ecosystems for entrepreneurship. India, too, is home to robust and dynamic startups industry.
Assistimos aqui à assinatura de 7 acordos na área da ciência, envolvendo a Fundação da Ciência e Tecnologia, envolvendo a Universidade do Minho, e envolvendo o Laboratório Ibérico de Nanotecnologia e envolvendo um conjunto vasto de instituições científicas indianas. E numa variedade muito grande de áreas. Em primeiro lugar, o espaço, onde ambos os Estados definiram como prioridade a cooperação em conjunto, a área dos materiais e da nanotecnologia, áreas da bioengenharia e da medicina regenerativa. A ciência vai ser seguramente uma área que constituirá grande pilar da nossa cooperação ao longo deste século.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is headed to the United States to meet President Donald Trump for the first time. The Prime Minister is on a three-nation tour to Portugal, United States and the Netherlands. He will be visiting the US on June 25th and 26th and the Netherlands on June 27th. During the visit, he will hold talks with the top leadership of all countries to boost bilateral ties. This will be the Prime Minister's fourth visit to the United States.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday left for his three-nation tour, including the United States. His official tour to US will start on Sunday. This will be Modi's first visit since Donald Trump took charge as President of US in January. On June 25th, the Prime Minister will address members of the Indian community in Washington. US President Donald Trump will host dinner for him on June 26th. This is the first working dinner that Trump will be hosting as the US President for any visiting foreign leader. Before leaving for US, Modi took to social media to state that he was looking forward to an in-depth exchange of views.
a wide variety of subjects. We cover defense and security. We cover counterterrorism. We cover the broader political relationship between the two largest democracies of the world. We cover trade and investment issues. We have very important people-to-people links.
Apart from official meetings with Trump and his cabinet, Modi will meet some prominent American CEOs. The talks between the two leaders will focus on Donald Trump's H-1B visa program and terrorism. Climate change will also be an important topic of discussion between the two leaders. India and US will also discuss the sale of US fighter jets during the PM's trip.
A roundtable discussion with 20-odd top CEOs from American industry covering different areas. I think this will provide an opportunity for them to tell us what their plans are, how they're looking at India as a market, India as a destination.
After US, Modi will travel to Netherlands on June 27th. He will have official meeting with the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte in order to boost bilateral ties and deepen economic cooperation between the two nations. He will also call on King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands. Both countries are celebrating 70 years of the establishment of Indo-Dutch diplomatic relations this year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the monsoon session of Parliament will begin on July 17th, the same day that voting for the presidential election is to take place. The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs has recommended holding the session from July 17th to August 11th. The CCPA meeting chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh was held on Friday evening, soon after the NDA's presidential nominee Ramnath Kovind filed his nomination papers. However, the Parliament is unlikely to transact any business on the first day of the session on account of the death of two sitting MPs, Lok Sabha member Vinod Khanna and Rajya Sabha member Pallavi Reddy. The Election Commission rejected petitions of 21 AAP legislators to drop the Office of Profit case against them. The poll panel said that the Delhi High Court order that set aside their appointments will not come in the way while deciding their disqualification, as the MLAs held the post de facto. Here's a report.
In a major setback to the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi, the Election Commission rejected petitions of 20 MLAs to drop the Office of Profit case against them. The Delhi High Court had quashed their appointments as parliamentary secretaries last September.
तो एक बड़ी ही दिलचस्प सिचुएशन है ये, और मुझे लगता है कि ये जो ऑर्डर है इलेक्शन कमीशन का, ये भी सभी तरीके की रेमेडीज के लिए ओपन है. इसके अंदर कई तरीके से इसके लिए भी कई द्वार खुलते हैं.
The Election Commission said the Aam Aadmi Party legislators held the office of parliamentary secretaries from March 13, 2005 to September 8, 2016. Despite their appointments being quashed, it said all decisions taken during this period were valid and subject to scrutiny. The EC will decide on their disqualification in its final hearing in August. The Office of Profit petition was initially filed against 21 AAP MLAs. However, proceedings against Jarnail Singh were dropped after he resigned to contest assembly polls in Punjab. Prashant Patel, who filed the petition, called the EC's ruling a victory.
अब ये केस की लास्ट स्टेज है, चूँकि एमएलएज की आर्गूमेंट थी कि हाई कोर्ट ने 7 सितंबर 2016 को उनके अपॉइंटमेंट को कैंसिल कर दिया, इसलिए ऑफिस ऑफ प्रॉफिट का केस नहीं चलना चाहिए. लेकिन उनकी दलील को खारिज करते हुए चुनाव आयोग ने कहा है कि उन्होंने लगभग 16 महीने ऑफिस ऑफ प्रॉफिट वो पार्लियामेंट्री सेक्रेटरी की हेल्ड की है, इसलिए उनके ऊपर कार्रवाई होगी और वो केस कंटिन्यू रहेगा.
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal defended the appointment of the parliamentary secretaries. He also sought exemption for the legislators from disqualification. However, the president refused to give assent to the Delhi government's bill on the matter. Anu Diwan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, protesters marched through the streets in several places on Saturday as the indefinite shutdown in the Darjeeling hills entered its 10th day. Meanwhile, GJM Chief Bimal Gurung threatened to intensify his agitation for a separate state. Addressing the media, he added that he will fight till the end for their one-point agenda of Gorkhaland. Internet services were suspended for the 7th day and local cable channels also remained blocked in many areas. Elected members of the Gorkha Territorial Administration belonging to the Gorkha Janmukti Morcha, which is leading the stir, resigned en masse on Friday. The party decided to burn copies of the GTA Accord reached in 2011 between the Union Home Ministry, the West Bengal government and the GJM on June 26th and 27th. The West Bengal government on Friday offered a dialogue to defuse the crisis, while Home Secretary Malay De said the doors of the government were open for talks to restore normalcy in the hills.
जीटीए को खारिज कर रहा हूं और चाहता हूं कि अभी ये जीटीए का एक्ट और एग्रीमेंट जो भी है वो 27 तारीख को हम लोग इसको जलाएंगे।
हामी हाम्रो जातिको हाम्रो गोर्खाल्यान्ड माग्दै छौं हामी जाति जाति आफ्नो आफ्नो वेशभूषामा निस्केर सबै नेपाली जाति एक भएर यति हो ए हामी जति पनि नेपाली जाति छौं सब एक छौं गोर्खाली जाति एक छौं।
टेररिस्ट का गांव नहीं है, टेररिस्ट को ढूंढना है बॉर्डर में जाओ, लेकिन यहाँ पर सीआरपी रख के क्या हम लोग तो टेररिस्ट तो नहीं है ना, सबको अगर वो करना है तो उधर में जाना चाहिए। हम लोग सिर्फ मांग कर रहे हैं अपना गोरखालैंड चाहिए बस, जय गोरखा जय गोरखालैंड।
The Maharashtra government on Saturday approved a farm loan waiver of 34,000 crore rupees. The scheme would also see the debt of up to 1.5 lakh rupees per farmer being completely written off. Announcing the loan waiver scheme called Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Krishi Samman Yojana, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis said that the program will benefit 89 lakh farmers and make 40 lakh agriculturists debt-free. He also said that all the ministers of his cabinet and MLAs would donate 1 month's salary to support loan waiver. Earlier this month, farmers in many parts of Maharashtra were on strike demanding a loan waiver. The strike, which was also backed by other political parties, had sent prices of vegetables and produce sharply higher. The stir was called off after the government assured them of introducing a scheme to help the debt-pressed cultivators.
आणि 1.5 लाखापर्यंतचं कर्ज सरसकट माफ केल्यामुळे जे थकीत शेतकरी आहेत त्यातले 90% शेतकऱ्यांचा सातबारा पूर्ण कोरा होणार आहे, 90%. आणि नियमित कर्ज भरणाऱ्या शेतकऱ्यांना 25%, पण 25,000 कमाल मर्यादा इतकं आम्ही प्रोत्साहनपर अनुदान हे जमा करणार आहोत.
A leading intergovernmental financial watchdog has slammed Pakistan for continued complicity in financing terrorist entities. At its meeting in Spain's Valencia, the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, closely scrutinized Pakistan's record on terror financing. At the meet, FATF said that certain UN-designated terror groups in the country were receiving money due to lack of control by the authorities. It is noteworthy that FATF is a Paris-based organization which sets standards for banks globally and promotes measures for combating money laundering and terrorist financing. A report on Pakistan's complicity in terror financing was discussed at the FATF plenary, the group's highest decision-making body, that took place from 18th to 23rd of June. The scathing remarks come just 2 years after Pakistan was removed from a blacklist that imposed enhanced surveillance on the country's financial system. Now the issue will be discussed at the organization's Asia-Pacific Group annual meeting in July. Well, here's a roundup of some other news from across the country in Nationwide. The Election Commission on Saturday disqualified Madhya Pradesh Minister Narottam Mishra for submitting wrong expenditure accounts in the polls. Mishra has been debarred from contesting polls for 3 years. He had allegedly published paid news in various newspapers ahead of the 2008 assembly elections without accounting for the expense. Two people were arrested from Hyderabad on Friday with demonetized banknotes worth 70 lakh rupees after a tip-off. The duo had allegedly taken money from their owner and planned to exchange them for profit. Well, since the Supreme Court's liquor ban along the highways, nearly 133 establishments along NH48 and NH44 will no longer be allowed to sell liquor after 30th June. Bengaluru's famous hubs MG Road and Brigade Road will be hugely affected. The ban calls for shutdown of liquor sale in any establishment in a range of 500 meters from the highway. Chhattisgarh's Sukma district saw yet another gun battle between the Special Task Force and the Maoists, where 5 STF personnel have been injured in an ongoing bloody feud. The security forces were reportedly cordoning a patch of forest near Chinta Gufa when they were attacked by Naxals, which led to an exchange of fire. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Shura and you're watching Law of the Land.
Jammu and Kashmir does have a special status.
Database should be available for all states.
We are not touching the jurisdictions of the Jammu and Kashmir Collection of Statistics Act.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Jade was popular during Mughal era and gained prominence during Akbar's rule in 15th and 16th century. It came all the way from Iran and Central Asia in attractive colors. The royalty had a unique use for it. Since jade changed color when it came in contact with arsenic, they started utensils like plates, jars, bowls, and even hookah with it, and thereby avoided getting poisoned by rivals.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Saudi security forces averted a major tragedy by foiling a planned terror attack at the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Millions of Muslims are in Mecca during the holy month of Ramzan. The attack was foiled when authorities circled the building where the attackers were hiding.
A major tragedy was averted on Friday when Saudi security forces prevented an imminent attack on the Grand Mosque in Mecca. A suspect in the planned attack blew himself up in a nearby neighborhood when security forces surrounded the home where he was hiding. The man did put up a fight, refusing to surrender, then opening fire on the forces before killing himself.
البيت بيت أخويا وأنا ساكن فوق وجيت سمعت الصوت على طول نزلت البيت وجيت طلعت أخواني وأمي وأهلي كلهم ودوا المستشفى. الصباح كان ساعة 9:30 كده.
6 people, all foreign pilgrims, were injured as the suspect blew himself up. 5 security personnel also received minor injuries. 5 people, including 1 woman, have been arrested for their suspected involvement in the plan. The Saudi Interior Ministry blames 3 groups to be behind the planned attack, 2 based in Mecca and 1 in Jeddah. Despite the recent acrimony, Iran and Qatar sent Saudi Arabia their support. Iran expressed readiness to assist and cooperate with other countries to confront these criminals who deal death and ignorantly spread hate. Qatar too expressed solidarity with Saudi Arabia. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Qatar dismissed a list of demands submitted by 4 Arab countries, calling them neither reasonable or actionable. Qatar's foreign ministry said in a statement on Friday that this list of demands confirms what Qatar has said from the beginning. The legal blockade has nothing to do with combating terrorism. It is about limiting Qatar's sovereignty and outsourcing our foreign policy. The US Secretary of State recently called upon the blockading nations to produce a list of grievances that was reasonable and actionable. The British Foreign Secretary asked that the demands be measured and realistic. This list does not satisfy that criteria, unquote. Earlier this month, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates and Bahrain broke ties with Qatar over allegations that it funds terrorism, a claim that Qatar denies. Among the 13 conditions, the 4 Arab countries demanded the closure of Al Jazeera TV, funded by the Qatari government. They also want Qatar to reduce its ties with Iran and close a Turkish military base, setting a deadline on Friday of 10 days. Qatar said an official response will be ready after they have reviewed the demands. Over 140 people are feared buried after a landslide hit China's Sichuan province on Saturday morning. Local authorities declared a state of emergency after the incident. Meanwhile, both President and the Premier have called for rescuers to spare no effort in their search for survivors. Here's a report.
More than 140 people are feared buried after a landslide hit China's Sichuan province. The landslide occurred when the side of a mountain collapsed on Saturday morning, blocking a 2-kilometer stretch of river in a valley. The landslide was triggered by recent heavy rains in the region, with the situation being made worse due to the lack of vegetation in the area. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang have urged all-out efforts to search for those missing. Around 500 rescuers with 23 sniffer dogs are working at the site, searching for survivors trapped beneath rocks. Even as authorities recovered 5 bodies from under the debris, 3 people from one family were also rescued alive hours after the landslide.
我们就跟着等那会儿，我们村民那些地方的隔壁的村民，把我们弄起去洗个娃娃，去找衣服，给我们找衣服，啥子遇到政府那个乡政府嘛。
Landslides are frequent in many parts of rural and mountainous China, particularly when it rains heavily. Around 12 people were killed in January this year when a similar incident occurred in central Hubei province. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now take a look at some more developments from across the world in Global Buzz. 5 residential London tower blocks were evacuated due to fire safety concerns over their external cladding following the deadly Grenfell Tower inferno. Fire checks were carried out on some 600 high-rise buildings across England. It resulted in thousands of residents in housing estate were forced to leave their apartments to sleep on airbeds in local sports centres. Washington's Special Envoy to Afghanistan and Pakistan, Laurel Miller, stepped down just as the United States is preparing to send thousands more troops into the region. The Trump administration said Miller was returning to a position at the Iran Corporation and nothing has been decided what to do with Miller's responsibilities will now fall under the Department South and Central Asian Affairs Bureau, including India. Colombia's National Liberation Army rebels handed over 2 Dutch journalists to a humanitarian commission. They were kidnapped a week ago in the Catatumbo forest region. The journalists somehow appear to be in good condition, accompanied by the ELN guerrillas in camouflage who covered the lower part of their faces with the armed group's flags. Indian origin Sikh human rights advocate Palbinder Kaur Shergill was appointed judge of the Supreme Court of British Columbia in New Westminster. Shergill is the first turbaned Sikh to be appointed to the judiciary in Canada. The appointment was made with immediate effect as Justice Shergill replaces Justice E. Arnold Bailey, who retired on May 31st. The recapture of the city of Mosul from Islamic State will be announced in a few days, said the Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi. Islamic State militants blew up the Grand Al-Nuri Mosque in Mosul and its famous leaning minaret as Iraqi forces seeking to expel the group from the city closed in on the site. Well, now some sports news, and at the Australian Open Super Series badminton tournament, Indian shuttler Kidambi Srikanth entered the final by defeating the world's 4th-seeded Shi Yuki of China. The world number 11 beat Shi Yuki 21-10, 21-14 in straight games. Srikanth will now face the winner of the match between China's Chen Long and Korea's Lee Hyun in the finals. Let's now take a look at some developments from the world of sports in Sports Beat. Indian pacer Jasprit Bumrah is not amused after Jaipur Traffic Police used his Champions Trophy final no-ball image as a campaign for road safety. A large billboard has been put up showing 2 cars behind a line on one side and Bumrah's no ball on the other with the caption, "Don't cross the line. You know it can be costly." Bumrah expressed his unhappiness on Twitter. The ICC Chief Executive's Committee on Friday approved that T20 international teams will not lose a review for umpires' call verdicts under the decision review system starting October 1st. Teams will no longer have their reviews topped up at the 80-over mark in test matches. DRS will now be used in the T20I format as well. The other changes approved by the committee include bat size restrictions, punishments for on-field misconduct and run-out rule change. Former Liverpool and Real Madrid defender Alvaro Arbeloa has decided to retire from football. He has won the 2010 FIFA World Cup and 2 European Championships in 56 appearances for his country. He has also won multiple trophies at Spanish champions Real Madrid. Arbeloa has signed a one-year contract at West Ham after being released from Madrid last August, but made just 4 appearances for the London side. Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.